Hello and welcome to Startup Kitchen Talks, where we learn the recipes to turn apprentices into master chefs. So I'm joined in the studio by Beata Vörösová. Beata is an investor in České spořitelna's VC fund Seed Starter. Prior to that, she was working with Czech Invest and has even had her own founder journeys. Welcome, Beata.
Thanks for having me here.
You're very welcome. And Miro Hachlinec. Miro has been working in the IT sector across very difficult industries such as aviation, real estate, and energy. And more recently, you founded the company Budovan that's automating buildings. And I'd love to actually start with talking a little bit about that. So what is Budovan and how did working in aviation and energy end up with you automating buildings?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. So starting with the journey, we bring into the startup ecosystem. So we are a startup which was founded almost a decade ago based on our own needs to operate buildings more efficiently. So we are kind of the operating system for buildings. And we operate any kind of buildings and any age of buildings, starting from, let's say, family homes which are using services through apartment buildings and, of course, office buildings, commercial buildings of different types, such as retail. And ultimately, we would like to go to airports, for example, where I come from, where I was a decade before working for a large IT company servicing the airports, and where the passion was actually grown to digitize buildings, because airports are nowadays the most digitized and efficient buildings managed through IT and efficiency, and this is not the case for the other types, for residential buildings or commercial buildings, which still lack in terms of technical or IT equipments and efficiencies as such.
And you use a couple of words, operating system for buildings, digitizing buildings. What does that mean in practice?
Yeah. So imagine that you have an operating system for your phone, for your PC. The infrastructure, so the PC and phone, was already built for an operating system. Cars are now moving from being operated by humans, drivers and mechanics, towards being operated by a system. Buildings are on the other edge, so they are only operated by manpower, by humans, and nowadays are trying to move further to be operated more by system solutions. And it's not just software, it's really combination of complex technologies on the hardware side and on the software side. So what we are trying to bring to the market is kind of an autopilot for cars dedicated for buildings.
Okay. And Beata, you are an investor in Budovan. Could you tell us a little bit about Seed Starter, the strategy, and how you ended up investing in Budovan?
I maybe start in the end.
Okay, it's a great place to start.
Yeah, we ended up investing because we have a long history knowing each other from Czech Invest, and I heard from Budovan when Miro introduced it in 2020, and he was talking about this nonsenses like that you will have as an owner of your property, you will have hourly update what is going on in your building, how much you spend money for water, if there is an issue in a communication with your building manager, and this kind of absolutely nonsense ideas. Because I believe that every idea is fantastic, but his, in my perspective back then, was like overwhelming, like solving too many issues and all of this industry, when we as humans were used to that. Year and a half later you get the energy bill from your apartment that what you consumed in January 25 you get in June 26, like this is your consumption. So his idea that you can check it daily, and not just the energy but also the whole administration of this complexity, that was a bit overwhelming and ambitious from my point of view, but I love the energy of the founders who are dreaming big. So I was like, sure, we'll see. And this is my huge advantage, and this is the reason we ended up investing, because one thing is having ambition and dreaming of changing an industry, and the other thing is being hit by the reality of the industry, that especially things that work and that actually, like, buildings are working, tenants are paying, energy bills are somehow calculated in complicated calculations and Excel sheets and some billing that no one ever understood. So I seen it that the world will not welcome Miro's invention with the red carpet immediately. But in these 5 years that we've known each other, I have also seen that he was reckless. Like he was like executing, building, bootstrapping, and every time I met him, there was an improvement, and it was like, okay. I mean, maybe his ambition is like huge, and his appetite to change the industry is like unseen. But obviously, he has also the power to push through and build a team around him, and the product suddenly, in my eyes, suddenly existed. And we got the feedback from the users that it's a fantastic product, and it solves their issues, and it brings to the building management to the other level. So from my perspective, that was the easiest decision to invest in, because it's not just the promise, but also for me the history of the 5 years that I think I can say that many founders would have just given up, and no one could blame them. So I think that was for me a reason to invest in.
And how does that fit within Seed Starter's strategy? So I read somewhere that you're investing for the long term. The bank is 200 years old, so we want to create companies that will live for 200 years.
Yeah.
I love the idea of creating enduring companies. And how does that strategy go into the Budovan investment?
Actually, we started 5-6 years ago as a fund of Česká spořitelna, the biggest bank in Czech Republic, part of the Erste Group. And the idea was that since the bank itself is 200 years old and has its huge trust in the market, and thinking strategically for the future as well, not like living day by day and quarter to quarter, but thinking how to be relevant for the clients even in another 200 years. So I think it's natural that we were thinking to invest in innovations that they will like somehow align with this long-termness. And I think there is still some truth in that. So we want founders that they are visionary and they want to build something. However, I think that 200 years for the startups innovation is a bit of a big stretch. I like to more see that the startup is, and the founder and the team is able to navigate these challenges, this turbulence that is in the market. So I understand that the product they are introducing us today might not live 200 years because the market will change in 2 years. And
but the founder will.
Yeah. I mean, we are heading there. So, and actually, it's not only Budovan's and Miro's case, but most of my portfolio that we invested in, and I knew them exactly 5-6 years ago. The product I remember back then is gone because the market is gone, and it's only natural that the good founder and the good team would listen and pivot and improve. And ride the wave of the innovation and use what's available today technologically. So no, I don't need a product that is relevant in 200 years, but I super need a founder that is thinking, that wants to be relevant in 200 years.
It's quite elegant though that you're taking things that probably haven't changed in 200 years, these buildings. And I wanted to ask you, Miro, what is the hard part about growing Budovan? Is it a technology thing, a regulatory thing, or, as I could potentially guess that it's a friction with the adoption, the actual users in the buildings themselves?
I would say complexity and mindset.
Mm.
Mindset of the people adopting it, of course. So it's really complex, as we've mentioned. So buildings are a complex thing, and also the average lifespan of a building is more than 200 years. So we are aligning this with the strategy of the bank. And honestly, from the beginning, as Beata mentioned, my vision was really to build something for the long term, and I really still have the vision. It hasn't changed. That our product will help the buildings from the very beginning, since they start the operations, till the very end, which is now even being extended from 200 to 300 years. So I really believe that this kind of solution can help the buildings for hundreds of years, but this is the kind of the positive part, because when we really build something which is helping, which is being adopted by the clients, and where the clients are happy to use it in the long term. By the way, we didn't lose any clients for a few years, for the last few years, any large client. Then this is the driver which which gives us the power to really go forward and to overcome the obstacles where you asked about what they are, and this is really the complexity and the needs of the clients, because buildings are a complex ecosystem. It's financial, energy, daily operations, reporting. It's a million, it's hundreds, to be exact, hundreds and thousands of daily activities which we try and which we already digitized to a large extent, and help the people to overcome this complexity, other than by doing it manually in a way. And by manually I mean Excel or legacy systems or other stuff they used to do, and bringing the innovations to their daily operations.
Okay. And you're, I would understand that the adoption is probably an easier case when you're a commercial building, because it's a very ROI-based decision. But you do a lot with build to rent and
Yes.
residential buildings. I understand you have half of the build to rent market in Prague already. And what does adoption look like there? Because, I have an apartment, even to put a doorbell in, I have to have an argument with my homeowners association, and everybody is quite slow to adopt things and sort of sometimes self-interested. That's the human nature of a lot of people shoved into a small box. And what does that look like for you selling this kind of efficiency product?
That's the hard part, because again, it's a long-term product, but it also takes a lot of time to basically not implement, but to change the mindset that this is really beneficial for everybody. The thing why we are so far in the build to rent segment is because we started in the residential segment, sector, where we started to serve the homeowners associations and the property managers servicing the homeowners association, which is a steady, very, very conservative market. But we learned a lot, and this market we are still serving in a pace which is, let's say, slower. But because there are the build to rent segment is a new segment, so there are institutions coming in every day and building and buying apartment buildings in order to rent them out to people who are, as we know, lacking proper housing, especially in Prague but overall in Czech Republic. So this sector, because it's a new sector, the build to rent one, doesn't want to start doing things like they did in the 1970s. So they want to be efficient, they want to be digital since the beginning. That's why we have less struggles to implement into build to rent segment, because this segment is being built from the scratch. Coming to commercial buildings, which is our new sector, which we started servicing only a few years ago, one and 2 years ago. The speed is also much higher because of the efficiency, of the lack of efficiency, and of the cost base. So it's very expensive to operate these buildings today, and decreasing the costs by tens of percent. So sometimes we can save up to 50% of the operational costs, which is huge. So this is something which drives the customers towards the efficiency and digitization with us.
And you mentioned that the problem is kind of exacerbating or accelerating.
Yes.
And I also noticed this in your business. You started in 2017, but it seems like you're kind of getting into the exponential point now. Beata, you invested last year, and that was your first money in, was it?
No, we have already 10 investors.
Oh, okay.
The first ones came a year before seed fund.
But still, it felt like in the last maybe 18 months, you're at a kind of inflection point. And from an investor perspective, Beata, how was it to watch that journey, and how did you know at what time was the right point for you to invest as an early stage investor?
I mean, I'm not sure I know, because nobody handed me the magic ball, but our logic was that we've seen the work put in. We've seen that Miro and his team won't give up and will go through any challenges. And also the easiest thing was to ask his customers. As you mentioned, he already had a quite substantial part in the residential building covered. And in this case, I mean, as an investor, you just go to the clients who are paying and ask them, it's like, why are you paying him? And of course, they explain the complexity and the technicality, and many of Miro's clients were grow with him and build the product together. So they also explained the technicality and how hard the product was built and what other features is lacking and everything. And it was like a huge, complex explanation of the technology. And then we asked okay, so I understand the problem is complex and everything, and why are you using it? And I remember still today, they said, because it's saving us a ton of money. That's it. So yeah, it's a complex system. Yeah, implementing it is super complicated, as I imagine. And there is a lot of obstacles because, as you said, there is a human nature in it. There is the homeowners association. There are contracts. There is the mindset of, we always done it this way, and if we cut it out technically and relationship-wise, and how it will change, and what if, what that. But in the end of the day, they said, it solves us the biggest issue. We need to cut costs, and also, if it implemented once, we have a long-term solution that is running as we need it. So if you hear that as an investor from the one of the credible clients from Miro, and then you are like, okay, so where should I sign? Where should I put? I want to be in. That was super easy for us as a decision.
And coming back to this inflection point, I always wonder, sometimes investors see things and it feels like the product is below maybe the minimum level of complexity that's required to be lovable and really fit with the market, which can be quite cruel because obviously you need the money to build the product to get there, but often sometimes you need the product to kind of prove that you have product market fit to attract the investors. And obviously someone has to kind of break the cycle like you have Beata by believing in the founder, not the product. Do you think your inflection point now is related to the complexity, this minimum level of complexity you've managed to build to create a kind of all-encompassing thing? It's not just heating or security or energy, which is what I believe you kind of started out in, but rather something more holistic.
You hit it exactly. That's the point. We needed 6 years of bootstrapping and a lot of internal investments to prove that the level of complexity not only is achieved by us, but is doable. Many of our customers didn't really believe that they can, run in one system all these different complex needs and features and facility management, property management, asset management, energy management, maintenance, accounting. All these are essential elements of running a system on a complex buildings, and I can break down each of these aspects into hundreds of others. So the inflection point was really meeting the level of automation for such a complex ecosystem or such a complex solution that they really see that it doesn't break in one or the other parts, which would ultimately lead to it falling apart. So we really now can demonstrate that once a tenant moves in and until the tenant moves out, all these different steps, like signing a contract, like inviting him to inspections, like maintenance, billing, energy consumption, and so on, can be automated without something breaking in between. Integrating, for example, energy meters was a huge problem in the past, because you have different energy meters for water, for heating, for electricity, for cooling, for gas, and also you have meters in the apartment, but you have also other different meters being provided by the utility company. And all these meters, and this is just an example, all these meters, in order to for the system to be fully automated, need to communicate in real time autonomously. So comparing this to, for example, the air transport system, as I like it, the company I was working with digitized the data between airlines in the 1960s in order for them to know which ticket was sold in which area. The energy data from the energy meters is not digitized and interchangeable until now. So you don't have in the same data bucket the data from the billing electricity meter, the billing gas meter, and the apartment water meter. But they all are related, because from the gas you produce heat, and the heat heats the hot water, and all it needs to be interconnected in order to automate this. So we had to go a long journey to be able to digitize this in a very cost-efficient way, because of course you can have complex systems such as they were at the airports, and they still are, and they are running smoothly, but you cannot invest the money you invest into the airport into a small apartment buildings. So we had to be very efficient and very universal. So we needed to be able to adopt and scale this solution on any type and any age of the buildings. And this took 6 years until we validated ourselves, until really the customer said, okay, this is the level of complexity and automations we are satisfied with, and we can build from here even further.
And you were kind of doing this very complex integrations in a pre-AI era.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, with the advancements in AI now, is it making it easier to replicate? I wonder, for the people that have put the hard yards in, like you have pre-AI, is this a accelerant or is it a threat to your business?
It's an accelerant. It's definitely not a threat, because AI has great features, and I would say that we have built a co-pilot and the infrastructure where a co-pilot, so again comparing it to the car industry, we have built the infrastructure where a co-pilot can work. And now we are enhancing this co-pilot in a very sufficient way into an autopilot of the building. So let's say, so this is a natural step, and AI is hugely helping and enabling the change from a co-pilot to autopilot smoothly, and even making it possible. Without the AI, it wouldn't be possible to switch from a co-pilot to autopilot.
Okay. And so if you extrapolate that forward, and maybe I'll also ask you about, I mean, when you invest, you have a thesis of what the world will look like if the company is successful. So what does the future of real estate management and the building management look like if Budovan is successful?
It's a really good question. We believe that the world is going towards automation, because we can talk about the idea of AI stealing jobs, but also these jobs are already like missing. Like it's super hard to find people that they are gonna take care of redundant manual tasks and repeated manual tasks. So I think if you are asking our thesis, it was like it's inevitable that in a world where we are talking about let's go to the moon, let's go to the Mars, let's solve quantum computing, let's operate people with Da Vinci robots that they are able to cut to you with the millimeter. In this world, to run around in a building and draw down meters and then put the numbers manually into some Excel sheet and multiply it with some this sounds like odd. I mean, we all are consumers of this world, and we are like accepting that this is the normal. But I mean, in my opinion, and this is the reason we invested in Budovan, this will not be the normal. You are not building a fantastic new building with all the visualization and all the even the visions and the ideas how the buildings and construction should they should be efficient, they should be green, they should consume less water, they should use the environment around them to co-live, to cooling, to use the water from the weather, and then some person running around and managing it by hand, the things that they shouldn't be that. I mean, yes, a building is still a physical thing. I believe that the window will be cleaned with an assistant, a person, and so on. But still, we believe that the buildings are great to absorb innovation, and this is the reason and the thesis behind that. We believe that Budovan can solve it.
Yeah, the big news this week was Travis Kalanick raising 1.7 billion coming out of Stealth for Atoms, which is about bringing robotic automation into the physical world. He's starting with transport, with food, hospitality, and I think when you have a clean slate and you can design processes from the ground up, it's maybe easier. You know, you make a ghost kitchen. A ghost kitchen looks very different to a restaurant kitchen that has to be customer facing and designed to get food out to the diners. And I think with buildings, you almost have this natural constraint that the building was designed a certain way and maybe isn't the clean slate that Travis has to roll out some of his automation. So, we were talking about robots earlier. Where do you see robotic automation manifesting inside buildings, let's say in 10 years' time?
Yeah. That's a great example, actually. Travis, one of Travis's new investors is also Fifth Wall, for example, which is the largest prop tech venture capital fund, which invests specifically in property technology such as ours. And they mentioned that in the past the thesis was more towards SaaS and really avoiding the physical layer. But then a few years later, they did their own analysis on their own portfolio, and the best performing startups were those ones which had the physical, the infrastructure, and this element of something tangible. So where we see this in the future and the robotics inside of buildings, well, we are robotizing the administrative part and the energy part and everything which is behind, kind of in the back office. But there is a lot of going on in the buildings in the different areas, such as Beata mentioned, cleaning of windows. Well, there are already robots which can clean windows. I don't think they are efficient. I don't think they are there yet. But I believe that one day they can be improved to a level where they can decrease the amount of manpower being put into cleaning efforts, for example. So we are already trying to robotize the building on the management side.
Okay, and how do you imagine that, if you get out your crystal ball, how would that look in terms of form factors? Like, are we talking custom devices for, sensing and controlling, gas and energy? And are we talking more kind of multi-purpose robotics that are controlled by physical AI and kind of can do what a human is doing? How do you think this would look?
I think the answer is that most of the technological equipment, so the hardware already is in the building. So there are, for example, access controls, access systems, there are parking systems, there are system for the distribution of the heat and cooling, and basically the building management system, which can do a lot, but they are kind of legacy. They do one thing and don't communicate with anything else. So it's not so much about implementing new technology, it's about, and this is what we do, doing a layer above it, which can communicate with all these different technologies, and which can deliver the smartness, the brain, to these technologies, that for example, you don't need a physical card to enter the building, but you can use your phone, or that you don't need to go to your thermostat to set the temperature, but there is a brain which not only looks into your apartment, but which looks at the building overall, which looks at the weather, which looks at many other different data points, and which can optimize it without you being bothered, first of all by operating, and second of all by the discomfort. So it increases, it decreases the bandwidth needed or the manpower, but at the same time, and this is something we didn't mention, it hugely increases also the experience with the buildings, and not only for the operators, which we mentioned here, but also for the end users. The buildings are made for the people. If we build new buildings and we talk about AI, robotics, and so on, still there will be people living and working in these buildings. So even these systems are designed for the people, and not only to decrease the bandwidth needed to operate them, but also to make them more, let's say, more user-friendly in a way for the end users, the people living there, the people working there, or the people visiting the buildings. Imagine a complex building such as a railway station or an airport. There are hundreds, thousands, even millions people coming across this infrastructure, coming across the buildings, and they have some experience with the buildings. That's why airports build online check-ins and many other automations which help the flow through the building, optimize the building management, but also make it more user-friendly for the end users. I like to do my online check-in from the phone rather than waiting 2 hours in the queue. This is definitely an improvement for me.
Yeah, I love the idea of improving the experience of a lived space or a worked space. I had a question in the back of my mind. I'm an impact investor, and we're always thinking of, if this goes right, what are the positive benefits and potentially some of the spillover, maybe negative benefits. And I think the big issue, especially in Prague, this is very visceral, is the housing crisis.
Yeah.
And there are not enough houses for people. It's not affordable. And there's a lot of different thoughts, schools of philosophy about how to address this. How do you think that, and I can imagine this is quite a controversial subject, but how do you think that improving the efficiency of operating a building will show up in the housing crisis? Does it have the power to make things better? Could the problem maybe exacerbate?
Honestly, I don't think we can eliminate the housing crisis by managing the buildings better. I think the reasons and the tools or initiatives how to improve the housing crisis are in the phase before the buildings are being built. So we definitely need, in a way, more buildings or more spaces for the people to live in, for example, or use for other purposes, offices and others. But what I believe, and where I still believe that we can help, maybe not so much in the housing crisis, but in the overall utilization of the buildings, is optimizing the utilization. Again, I go back to the airports. Airports are utilized in terms of how the space is used to almost 100%. Everybody can imagine that, the people are moving across the airport, are being directed, are being really optimized for the buildings, not that the building is optimized for the people. Comparing to office spaces, where worldwide occupancy rate is today 50%. So 50% of the building is not optimally used during the day or in terms of number of people working there. So I use another example. there is still a lot of space a lot of room to optimize with this technology, such as, for example, it's very visible on parkings. There are a lot of parking spots in commercial buildings, in office spaces, which are completely empty during the night and during the weekend, because it's the nature of the building. The building was built for office hours, and the parkings are used in the office hours. But a smart system could be, such as ours, could be implemented tomorrow, and the empty spaces, empty parking lots, could be used during the night and during the weekends for the residents living close to the office building and utilizing the parking spots from 8 hours and 5 days to 24 hours, 7 days. And in this analogy, I believe also the housing crisis could be slightly improved through a better utilization of the physical assets.
Yeah, I love that answer, because I think what I'm terrified of is we all want housing ownership to be more distributed, and I think a lot of the policies that Czech government are doing now is around putting some pressure on the ability to own multiple properties. Mm-hmm. In theory, I think that sounds great. What I'm concerned about is you might end the mum and pops with 3 apartments, and that should open up some housing supply. The question is who's buying it, and it sort of becomes a game of scale. And what I'm terrified about is that private equity funds and sort of REITs will actually become the largest owners of flats in Czech Republic. And I initially, on my way here, I was kind of thinking about it, that maybe tools like yours are actually an enablement for them to operate something at a lot higher scale, and a lot more efficiently, and therefore it sort of supports this consolidation. But the argument you're making about actually enabling people to improve the utilization and efficiency of distributed ownership flats, I think that's really strong. I really like that. And the other sort of topic that we've touched on, and I'll move over to you, Beata, is around job and task automation. We were talking about reading meters, and maybe it doesn't need to be done anymore. And you can take this more broadly. How does this factor into your shaping your investment thesis now? When you're looking at the ability for especially robotic automation to bring a lot of efficiency in the management of things and the operations, but also then some of the effects that might happen towards labor. How are you balancing this? And how's that shaping your thesis now?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but is it maybe that how we think of all this automation and changing the labor market?
Does it define areas that are maybe more interesting for you to invest into or less interesting?
We started as a fund of a bank. So in the beginning, we were like, let's invest in things that we know the best, fintech, or things that are related to our operation, because the bank Česká spořitelna is not only a bank. The big market share gives it also a big responsibility. So it has so many projects that they are out of fintech. For example, the affordable housing that Česká spořitelna is actively investing in. So that was the beginning of our investment strategy, and year by year we moved on to making it broader, because fintech is still interesting for us, but also the bank itself is a high innovation driver, and there are not enough fintechs for us to invest. So we were thinking what are the topics that are interesting for the bank from its strategical point, that it's not only a bank but also an active member of the society, and interested in these questions that they are in our minds. So today, with our investment strategy, we are leaning towards deep tech. We are leaning towards the questions that they are pressuring us, which is exactly automation, megatrends, aging. There will be many of us with painful hips, I imagine, and crumbling health, and how is this gonna affect us? The labor market changing. So all of these questions are interesting for us, and now we are becoming a fund that is invested in deep tech, in scientists. We are interested in spin-offs. We are interested in ideas that they are not only building a product, but they are trying to solve something that it already exists as a problem, or we know that we are heading towards it. So I'm passionate about medtech, health tech, biotech, because we see their issues that we are currently just living with them, but you know, like for example, healthcare is something that is crumbling. Like the way it was set up, and today is like running on some huge amount of money, but the system is crumbling and needs automation and everything in a different way. With chronic illnesses, with aging, with society changing, less children born, but people more aging. All of these questions are super interesting for us. So when we are investing, we are not only in. Actually, the product is not the first thing I'm interested in. I'm always interested in the person, in the founder. And secondly, I'm interested in, so, okay, what is this for and what's this solving? And is this a topic that we want to be interested in? So definitely labor market changing and automation and how our society will be shaped is interesting for us. Of course, unfortunately, we don't have the answers, or I don't have the answers handled. Maybe there are people who know exactly what's going to happen. But we feel that we are kind of like, we can be responsible for it. We can share some kind of responsibility. And the way of sharing that is money. So let's invest in things that maybe can improve our future.
Yeah, I'm impressed at the scope of what Öster's doing across there. And you mentioned around product, I completely agree with you around, especially in early stage, that putting the product, you know, a product is a kind of vehicle to achieve a means.
Yeah, but worshipping the product it can make you blind, you know, like fall in love with your product and then trying to push your customers to your product. So I think the product shouldn't be in the spotlight. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. Especially because building looks a little bit different now in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The rate of change of products is just so, you know, the cost of actually getting something out to market and then ripping it up and pivoting is now so low. And even the way that teams look now, you can get to market with a product with one employee. We're seeing some completely AI native teams get into multi-million-dollar revenue 12 months from founding with 1 or 2 employees and zero money raised. So it is sort of changing the game and the relevance of a product mode in the first, 12 months.
It's sales mode. It's market mode.
Distribution.
I believe you can build anything, but show me how you will roll it out. Because today, even myself with limited technical skills, I could maybe code something. I guess some POC I could do, but who is going to buy it? Who's going to pay for it? And also the question for me is if it's so easy to make a product, I'm now advising startups to put in the deck AI resilience information.
What does that mean?
How are you resilient to Claude or Gemini? How are you resilient to technologies that they are pivoting so fast, and maybe even my job will be partly ancient in 2 years, because nobody's gonna make analyst job or something like that without a big share of automation. So explain me why your product is resilient toward these huge tsunami of AI that is coming towards us, and clearly it can work better with data, better with huge amount of text, better with reasoning, and so on. So I want to know that I imagine that as a founder, you are able to build a product. I believe you. I even imagine that you understand the problem. But please explain me, if you can do it in 2 people, why there are not hundreds of teams of 2 people that can do it as well? So, yeah.
And Miro, I will let you respond to that. I mean, I think the answer is quite evident in your case, but where do you see your moat in 5 years?
Yeah.
Or even now? You know, you talked about you have a lot of stickiness, that buildings, they don't leave. That is, you know, that's an incredible feature of your business model. So when Beata is talking about the wave of AI and getting very easy maybe to replicate the technical side of one part of your product, where do you see your moat lying?
Well, AI is boosting our capabilities at this moment, and is exactly the spot we were missing, because we were able to build we have like 3 layers of our product: the physical, the infrastructure part, so everything which is connected with the building itself. Then there's the kind of automation level, and then there's the user level. We were already able to create a great user experience for the end users, for example, but we will not remove the end user. These are the people living and working in the apartments. So they need also a layer in between of somebody who is helping to manage the interactions. So for example, you send a request for maintenance, or have a question, or are locked in the apartment, and there is somebody who was responding in between. Now we can improve his response time like exponentially. And this is exactly the layer where AI is helping the overall solution, and helping our customers, to get even more, and decreasing the unwanted human interactions which are there. And the resilience lies exactly in kind of the complexity, because there will not be an AI who replaces a smart meter, for example.
Yeah.
Meter, it's as such.
I think that's extremely strong. Like you kind of own, not physically own, but you own the building, and then you kind of control the money flow through that, and it must be extremely sticky, and you can build so much on top of that. So I think it's a very clear distribution mode against purely technological advancements in AI.
We are still actually in contact with even new clients of Miro, and for me it's really comforting, at least helps me sleep at night, that even the new clients, they are like searching for solutions. They are like telling us there is no such complex product. So for them, they are approaching us to chat about the credibility of the company, how we see it as an investment, and so, because it's a big decision. I think it's a super big decision to hand over your building or buildings or your full portfolio and to say manage it. Like, that's a huge business, and they know that it's sticky, so they know they cannot change it from Tuesday to Friday. So they want to know that the company is credible. They are coming to us to get some feedback, how we see it, and so. But we also gather the feedback that they don't see such a complex product, and they just want to make sure that it's like even like too good to be true, because it now it's super complex. It can solve all of their issues. And they just want to know that as an investor we are backing it, and that we have a good experience with the team, and so.
Okay, and one thing that's common to all of us is the region, and I wonder how. And I'm interested in both of your views, from the investor, from the founder. Like, what makes it easier, harder building in the Central Eastern European region?
Having been working internationally, I would say that's being in Central Europe is definitely a disadvantage. So it's hard to work from here to gain new investment. Of course, we are lucky that we have invested such a seed starter.
But it's fair to say that investors are more conservative here.
It's fair to say they are more conservative, but also the size of the tickets and so on. Our competitors in the US were raising tickets in the amounts of hundreds of millions of US dollars. while we were bootstrapping at that time. So yeah, there is a certain level of disadvantage, especially the size of the markets, which is, I would say, not such a huge disadvantage exactly for us, because we are operating in the real estate market, which is the largest asset class in the world. So basically, even a small country such as Slovakia can produce a PropTech startup which could be a unicorn.
Yeah, same in energy.
Yeah, exactly, same energy. And we are at the edge of real estate and energy in a way. So these are huge markets, even locally. But definitely, having a US market to scale at would be a huge advantage.
And how does it inform your view on the future? Where should you be? Are you going to remain kind of building out pan-European, or do you have plans to try to move into bigger markets?
Well, we have opened our activities in the Middle East last year. So we have also an office in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, and we're expanding further to Western Europe. We are not capable or do not have the bandwidth to go further, like to the US or Asia at the moment. Because we also believe, again, that the size of the local market is so enormous that we want to service this market and service it in a good way, so that we have satisfied customers and happy customers, which I believe we have at this moment, because they are not leaving. And with this space, just go further. I think the size of the markets proves us that we don't have to jump from one country across the world in order to be successful. It
makes sense. The US being the largest, like, English-speaking single market, especially with digital adoption, it's obviously like a moth to a flame for most startups.
Yeah.
But as you say, when you have industries which are so large in any given country, you should think differently as a founder. You should really think in comparative advantage. So should I go to the place where the competition is the biggest? Yes, it is a big market, but maybe the comparative advantage does lie in the Middle East. I like that. I think it's quite a unique mindset, especially for our region, because there's a lot of rivalry for the US.
Yeah. Well, we didn't pick it by accident. We could pick Australia, for example, but the real estate boom is now happening in the Middle East, at least before the crisis was, and so there's an enormous amount of capital being poured into the real estate business.
Okay. And I think it's time to come to a close, but I always like to close with something optimistic. So I would like each of you to tell me either a technology innovation, something you've seen recently for the future that you're excited about. What are you excited about?
I wish I had closed the deals, because I have so many medtechs now that I'm super excited about, that they are solving real issues. And I will comment it down in 3 months when we close it. I'm super excited about innovations that they are solving suffering and unnecessary suffering and stupid suffering, and that's something I'm super optimistic behind, and it's just super great to be a part of it. Like sitting by a table with people who see it, and they are like not like, okay, this is how the world has always been. They're like, no, we have a solution for it. So, it's
the best job in the world to be with people who believe in a better future and are actually doing something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we are from I am from the region. I'm Hungarian, from Slovakia, living in Czech Republic. Our culture is. I have feeling that it's always a little bit drowning me down, like it's negative. It's like seeing the cup more half empty than half full, and I'm so optimistic that the world is now full with people who want to give solutions and bring value, and as I said, especially in health tech, biotech, but also in property building. But that the stupidity, how we have done the things, can be changed, and it's super inspiring for me.
Yeah, I agree that there feels this kind of unbridled optimism that, AI is a little bit like magic, and physical AI is going to extrapolate that even further, and it feels like anything is possible now. I can say that as an investor, we then receive pitches which are 10x more ambitious, which is fantastic, but there is a limit to what is achievable, and it can sometimes blur the line of ambition and insanity, but it's good, those are the founders you want. And Miro, something optimistic or inspiring innovation-wise that you've seen recently?
Well, yes, I'm so excited about so many technologies, so I wouldn't know where to start. But AI as such is extremely exciting, and I really see how it helps in the daily work, how it can help building something for the future, for the next decades and hundreds of years. But coming from where I come from the aviation and energy sector, for example, I'm very excited about these sectors, like for example the democratization of the aviation sector in the form of flying cars. This is something I'm very much looking forward to. I don't know how long I will have to wait, but this is something
childhood dream. From sci-fi movies.
Exactly, but I from what I see on the market, I am optimistic that I can even experience it hopefully soon, and very similar to in the energy sector. So being able to produce your own electricity and distribute it into the heating, into cooling, into everything when in your house. So democratizing the energy, not only consumption but production. There is a lot of things, and I don't want to go into details, but there is a lot of things going on, and there is a lot of things which will really improve the way of life for millions and billions of people. And again, it's something which I'm probably also so excited about, because it addresses the physical environment. So the energy will not be produced by AI. Hopefully sometimes
Mostly
it will,
consumed.
but I don't know how. It will be more consumed by AI, exactly. Hopefully AI will help us to produce it on the moon or something, but at the end, it really gives something more to the end users, and at the same time optimizing the physical assets, but also the resources. The solar panels are built from resources from our Earth. They are not unlimited, so it has also an environmental element when we are thinking about technologies in these physical assets. Same for aviation, by using flying cars and converting, for example, jet fuels to consume electricity, which you can then produce from the sun, is a completely different level of environmental impact. And this is something I'm very much excited about. And again, I'm very much looking forward to fly a car.
Okay, yeah, it's an exciting time to be building, no doubt. So on that note, let's wrap up and get back to building. Thank you, Miro. Thank you, Beata. To the listeners, I would advise you to check out SeedStarter BC and to check out Budovan for facilities management, building management. Thank you both, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.